Welcome to Learn Flower Arranging for Fun and Profit. I'm James Salazar and I'll be your host and guide as we take a look at creating beautiful flower arrangements that sell. In this video, you'll learn about tools and supplies, flower selection, and 5 great beautiful flower arrangements that I know you're going to love to make. There'll be hands-on guide on mastering these projects, and by the time this video's over, you will be able to create these beautiful flower arrangements that sell. Now, we'll be working with clippers and knives and scissors, so if there's kids around, keep them away from these tools. And when you're working with them, be careful they are sharp. With that, let's get started. Let's build a flower dog in a basket. First, we'll prepare the basket by lining it. Then fit and size the oasis and put it in the basket. Then we'll put a border of leaves around it. Then we'll begin to build our dog. Let's get to the first step. Let's prepare our basket. And I want to protect my furniture because it might leak when we put our oasis in. So I'm just going to put some saran wrap in there as protection, just to keep it from leaking. And then I'm going to use some aluminum foil just as protection. There, and that'll hold any water. Now I want to begin adding my oasis and place it into our basket. And looks like we'll need a couple of pieces. It's easily cut, so I just take my knife and I cut a piece off. Now both of these need to be put into water to soak up the water because they will be what we're going to put our flowers in. So we'll put that in right into our oasis. We'll put it into our basket and we have it like this. We can put some in the gap here. So just use some of the pieces that we had left over. And we place that. There we go. Now we're ready for greening. Let's get to that step. Now what I want to do is begin to add greenery around the border here and let it hang out of the edge of the basket a little. And all I'm doing is placing it right in the edge as a kind of a little garden nest, because we'll be building our dog soon and we want him to be very comfortable in his little garden. So we're preparing now just the border. You can use a substitute greenery if you find it in your backyard or in a market or at the flower mart. There's all kinds of greenery that you can use. So basically we have this border. Now we're going to place more of this leather fern, but we're going to place it as if it were growing upwards. Notice that I'm putting it in as if it were growing straight up. Not on a border now, but straight up as if it were like a tree or flower. upwards because we want to kind of hide that basket handle. Because in a little bit we're going to build our dog and he'll be resting there. So we just place enough to cover the handle. There we go. That's what we want. Here's a great way to make a face on the flower. This will be the face of our dog, and we're going to place 2 plastic eyes on the dog. So I'm going to get a plastic eye, put a little bit of glue gun, a little bit of the glue on the top, and use a little plastic eyelash. Just place it right on top. Then I want to get a pin, and I want to glue that pin head in the back with just about a drop of glue. This will really help us get that eye to stay in place. You could glue the eye onto the flower, but it'll droop probably and it's not as secure. So gluing the head of the pin on back of the eye is your best secure, best bet in placing the eye. So once our eye is dry, we can go ahead and just insert it. There we go. And then we'll get the other eye and we'll insert that. That'll really keep it in place. And then we'll get a little black pom-pom, but you can cut a piece of black little paper or felt or and just put a little drop of glue. There's our little nose, and we'll put a little mouth, and we'll put a drop on a red pom-pom, and then we'll place that below where his mouth will be. Now I'm thinking about making his head a little bigger and also pushing the face forward so we have kind of like a flat face. So I'll get the top of the chrysanthemum, the Chinese mum, and I'll push the top of my face flower forward. Yeah, that's a clever way to keep the face forward, because flowers, their face goes up to the sun, but we want it to go sideways like a little dog face would be, so that chrysanthemum back of the head pushing it on top really helps. And I'll put 2 carnations on each side of the head, and I'll use some plastic floral tape. You can use wire or cord or ribbon, anything to hold it in place on the top, the 4 stems of the 2 chrysanthemums and the 2 carnations. And then I'll get some more, and it's important to tie the bottom, because that's where we'll be inserting this skinny neck, the stems of these flowers, into the oasis in the basket. I'm going to use 3 chrysanthemums to create the illusion of the body. And again, I keep the stems kind of long, just so that there's enough to insert into the oasis and enough to cover the handle. And we'll just place it right at the beginning of the handle above and cover up the basket handle. And then we'll take the second one for his body, and we insert that right next to each other, making sure that we're creating one shape. One more. And then we take our dog head and place it right in back, and again we cut the stems enough to insert it into the oasis, but at the same time we want the head to float above the body. So we need to keep those stems long enough so that the little dog will have his little neck. And then we'll add a carnation for a tail, and that'll look great. You can use a chrysanthemum too. It's kind of big, but it's up to you. You can make it really close to the body, the chrysanthemum, but this carnation is fine. Now we'll add some dog legs, And I'm just using carnations for these and cutting the stem long enough to insert into the oasis, and at the same time kind of shaping a descending leg going long ways down. So I'll probably you can use 2, 3, or 4. I'll probably use 4 here, and that'll give us a good, comfortable, happy dog who's having an enjoyable, relaxing time in his summer garden basket. There we go, and that'll be 4 carnations. They're a smaller flower, that's why it's good to use it for legs or ears or tail or arms. So we begin adding our back leg, making sure the stem is long enough to insert into the oasis. Now we can add some variety and some texture and color by adding greenery, and you can find a lot of greenery in the back of your yard, in the market or in the flower mart. And we're just adding again an ambiance of a garden where this happy little summer dog is relaxed and comfortable. And we keep adding greenery. Then we add color. We can add a few pink red roses. You can use tulips, ranunculus, any kind of flowers you want. The flowers really add contrast. And there's our dog in his happy little summer garden. And in the back of the basket, this is to be seen from the front, but in the back you can add greenery if you want, if it's going to be placed in the middle of a table. And you can add some more wild flowers. And as you can see, the dog is just the chrysanthemums and the carnations and we'll add another rose. And this will create a beautiful little summer paradise for this little dog, looking up adoringly at the birds and the trees. He's very comfortable. Now, since our dog is very well groomed, you can add special decoration, some little bows. I'll use ribbon. You can use any kind of fabric you want or decoration. I'm going to use some ribbon, green ribbon, and then I'll take a needle of a pin and I'll place it in the middle of the bow, and the pin will help me place it on the ears because our dog just went to the beauty parlor for pets. And then we'll do another one for the other ear, and this adds some charm and gift-like quality to it, as well as making our little pet happier. So the dog really comes to life, and we do one more bow, probably for the neck, a collar bow, and that'll give us a perfect picture dog, or a picture perfect dog who's ready for his close-up. And we'll use one more pin and place it in the middle. And there we go. There's our happy little dog. Please enjoy this beautiful little pet you've just created. He's happy in his little garden, and I'm sure that you'll be happy with him. Let's create a triangle flower arrangement to be seen from the front. Let's start with the first step, fit in sizing our oasis into our dish. Let's build our triangle arrangement in this dish. I'm going to size and cut a piece of oasis into this dish. I'm going to soak this in the water for a few minutes, about 4 minutes. I'll take it out a little earlier. And this will, there we go. Now I'm going to use some plastic floral tape. It's a thin plastic tape. And I'll usually put it about an inch from the edge here. And I'll use 2 pieces. This really helps it keep it from moving around once the arrangement is complete, if we move it from room to room. And because this is a triangle arrangement, we want to use the long plastic bottom here as our balance, and it'll keep it from coming forward. If I use the horizontal, it would probably flop over. So it's better if you have a long ways, to use it long ways towards you. Usually a round one is better down here. Now I want to think about how high are we going to make our triangle arrangement? What about the width and the depth? Well, I'm going to use some skewer sticks. I could use a ruler, but it'll be 1.5 of the size of the diameter. Therefore, a good proportion of height and width and depth will be 1.5 of the dish or box or plate you're using. So you can use a ruler and measure 1.5 of that. But these sticks happen to be 1.5. So they're just a quick guide, you know. And here I'll put 2 in the back on the side and 1 on top, and then we'll use 1 for our depth. This will give us our triangle arrangement, top, depth, and the 2 sides. So it'll come out like this, and we'll be building that way. On the side it looks like this, nothing in the back here, but yes in the front and the side and our top. So there's our triangle arrangement basic beginning. Let's get to greening. Once we have our sticks in place, this tells us how long our greenery should be, and flowers. So it gives us a guide, and we cut the greenery just about as long as a stick, and we remove the stick, and then we take another piece here. We measure how long that should be. So it goes pretty quick once you've got your sticks in, give you a guide. And now I use here also, I say, okay, it's about that long. And we remove the stick. And that's our basic beginning. And I like sometimes to put right in between the ones I did in the front here, I like to place 1 more just to add some more texture and greenery for our basic. And there we go. Let's continue building our arrangement. I want to put a little more extravagant flower here as our guide, right where our stick was, and I pull it out. Then I begin building our triangle shape. There's the 2 sides, and now for the depth, the front, we have now kind of this is where we're going. Now we begin to fill out our triangle side or sides. just filling. Now we can begin to add. We can add some roses for color. You can use different carnations or ranunculus or whatever flower you particularly like. We can add some greenery to it. We can add some status. We can add a different color rose to give it a spring feel. Let's create a dome round flower arrangement to be seen from all around. It's a beautiful centerpiece, and we'll begin with fit and sizing our oasis into our dish. Let's get to that step now. Now creating our dome, let's create this dome arrangement to be seen from all around. And now I want to size and cut and fit our oasis. So we just take our piece of Aquafoam oasis and we cut it and then place it in some water. Place it in some water for a few minutes. Let it soak up some water. Generally 4 to 10 minutes. You could leave it in there. I'm going to take it out a little earlier. And we place that in our dish. Then I'm going to use some plastic floral tape. This we'll place on the top here to keep it from toppling over was if we move the arrangement from room to room. There we go. So I'll usually put it a ½ inch or an inch from the corner of the square. Now I want to think about how high are we going to make this? What is the depth and the width of our circular round dome arrangement? And the traditional proportion, as we did in the early triangle, or any kind of arrangement, a good basic beginning will be 1.5 of the diameter of the dish. So no matter what plate or bowl you're using, 1.5 of that, 1 plus half of that will be, half of the diameter of the dish will be good. I'm going to use some skewer sticks that I bought that just happen to be 1.5. I'll place one in the top middle, and I'll place one in the back, and I'll place one more. So we have our circle. Here's our guide. This tells us this is how big it's going to be, the diameter, and this is how high. Now let's get to greening. Now that we have our sticks, as we did in the triangle, we say, okay, it's telling us this is how long our arrangement is going to be. The basic, we removed the stick because it gave us a guide, and we measured there, and there it is. It's just about as long as that stick. It's an easy guide to use. There we go. What I like to do is add some greenery in between these, just to add a little more texture or greenery, and it really makes it look nice. There we go. Now I want to begin to add my flowers to start creating a shape, and I'll use these cushion flowers. You can use daisies, and this will be our basis for our foundation of our shapes. I'll use my daisies, or in this arrangement, these cushion flowers, and I'll place them where my guide sticks were. And the length of these flowers, they grow in clusters, and I'll place them right where I put the greenery in. And this will give me an easy way, a quick way to get my shape. So again, where my guide sticks were and my greenery, I'll begin adding the clusters, and it'll give me my north, east, west, and south directions. And there's how our guide sticks helped, because it gave us the height and it gave us the shape. Now I'm going to place some more as if they were growing out of the oasis. And I'm going to create an arc, and an arc in the sense that I'm going to make it shorter cluster. I'll cut the stems a little shorter so that it's a little shorter, and it gives me the image of a round dome, half dome shape there. And I'll do the same on the other side, cutting it small enough so that it angles and there's like a rainbow shape to it. And I'll do the same on the other opposite side there. I'll begin creating that arc here too, and I'll use the same flower because this will be our basic foundation flower. But you can use any kind of flowers you want, actually. If you want to use a full rainbow colored and variety of flowers, you can do the same thing that I'm doing. And we begin to add variety. Where you see space, you just begin placing greenery. In this case, I put some light purple wildflowers, and you cut the stems and just begin placing them in the spaces. And use greenery and variety. This gives us a spring look of colors and a variety of textures and shapes of the greenery and flowers. And I can also begin to fill out our spaces. I'm going to add some more cushion flowers in a little bit, but right now I just wanted to add some of these variety of flowers and greenery, so that when I place my cushion flowers, or that they will kind of be in between those cushion flowers that I place. I'm going to put some roses in also. Again, you can use tulips and sunflowers or carnations. I'm just using a simple rose and cushion flower with greenery, just to show this is the shape. We get it with our green sticks, and then we can begin building, and again, using any flowers you really like. With flowers, we can fill in that space. And our goal is just to create an attractive dome-shaped centerpiece flower arrangement that will be seen from all around. And again, we just continue building and filling in. The time passes quickly when you start putting these flowers in. And there's our shape beginning to take place, our dome shape. We insert our cushion flowers, greenery and wildflowers and roses. There we go. And beginning to take shape. And then we add more greenery. It really is a beautiful arrangement. I really like these. They really are festive, and they really light up the table or the room. And there's so many variety of flowers you can use. It's pretty wide open. So we continue filling in spaces and creating our dome shape, adding roses and wildflowers. Again, the basic idea are our guide sticks in our oasis, giving us where we're going with our shape, our dome shape. There's our arrangement coming to life. I hope you enjoy making this round, beautiful flower arrangement. Let me show you how to create a charming bear in a basket. First, we'll prepare our basket by lining it We'll fit and size our oasis into our basket. We'll green and then begin building our bear. Let's get to the first step. Preparing our basket for our bear, we want to make sure that it's not going to leak. As insurance, I'm going to put this aluminum foil in and now fit and size my oasis into here. Now I'm going to add one piece in there, and I'm going to add another piece, and I already sized and cut it and dipped it in water for 4 minutes. Now I want to add greenery to it. So I just begin creating a foundation with my leather fern. Again, you can use a substitute, and I'm just building a border. And that will be a good beginning. This adds texture and variety. There. That's what we want. Just a foundation, and our bear will sit in the middle of this. Let's get to creating our bear. Now I'm going to create the body, and I just cut a piece of oasis and I'm going to put it right in the middle here. That's going to be our body, and it's about 5.5 inches by 5 or 6 inches. It doesn't really matter, but we need to also make a head, and this is too big, so I'm just going to cut my oasis to a smaller. That looks pretty good. And you can shape it if you want, but it's not necessary because the flowers are there. Now we soak this in water for a few minutes because we're going to add flowers to make our bear. And then we place it right in the middle, and we put the head on. And we place our skewer sticks that I bought in the market, and that'll hold it in place. Now, I begin to clip you can use daisies. These are cushion flowers, and we cut about an inch and a half. Now, in creating our face for our flower, I'm going to glue just one pinhead to the back of this pin. So I'll put a drop of glue in the back of the pin, and I'll glue the pinhead to the back there. That'll help us attach the eye to the flower. Once the pins are dry, it's easy to place the eyes into the flower and oasis, and we can even put our nose of our little bear. Let's get to the next step. Then we begin adding our cushion flowers. You can use daisies, and it's good to use a flatter flower because we'll be adding heavier flowers like carnations later, and they'll give us our ear feel, and we'll be making little arms with carnations. But these flatter flowers, these cushion flowers or daisies, are really handy and good to use. And we just start to fill out a little head on top of the bear. We begin shaping the bear's head with the flowers, and 1/2 inch is good enough for the stem. And we start building our shapes. In this case, kind of a round shape for the little bear. Now we think of creating a shoulder. Now I'll put some carnations for the ear of our bear, and I just placed that into the oasis there. It's a heavier flower, a little bigger flower, so it really gives the illusion of an ear of the bear. And I'll place another ear, another carnation on the other side of the bear's head. So basically we're creating now the body of the bear. And he's a happy, chubby little bear in his little forest here. And we're going to make him a happier bear. He's waiting for us to give him some honey, but we're going to just keep placing flowers, making him fuller. And there's our bear coming to shape. Basically keep adding on each side so that it's pretty symmetrical, balanced, and looks like a bear. There's our happy little bear. And then we're going to think about placing a foot, or a little paw there, with a carnation on each side. You can put another one. I'm just going to use one for each leg, and then we'll put an arm. Well, again, we'll use a carnation for his little arm. There we go. And then on the other side of him, we'll put another arm. And that'll give us a great little happy bear with his arms and his legs and his ears made of carnations. And then I'm just going to quickly add a collar bow on it. And I'll just use a pin again. The pins are really good to use to insert into the flowers because the flowers do have a lot of layers, and then you want it to go also into the oasis. Now we're going to finish with color, and I'm going to use some red roses, and this really adds charm and beauty to our little bear's paradise. We'll add some wildflowers and some greenery, and this really adds to its charming ambiance of a wild little forest and our happy bear sitting amongst the roses. Use an orange rose there, and you don't have to use many. I'm using 3 or 4, and it really adds to the charm and quaintness of the bear. And there's our last rose we'll use. And there's our bear in his happy little paradise. I'll use a little bit of baby's breath. There we go. And that's our bear. I hope you've enjoyed learning to create this charming flower bear in his garden. I know you're going to love this puppy dog in a basket. Let's begin by preparing our basket. Let's prepare our basket. You can use aluminum foil, plastic wrap, or parchment. I'm going to use a plastic dish to keep the water from getting on the furniture. Then we need to cut our oasis so that it will fit into our basket. We dip in water for 4 minutes and we seat it in there. I'm going to use some pieces here to wedge it on the side, just adding some little pieces to fit in the gaps. There we go. Then I'm going to use a little bit of plastic floral tape to hold everything in to the basket. Now I've cut these already, and they're just some greenery, and I added to the border here on the sides, just adding on the edges some wildflower, because this will be our garden that the happy little puppy will be resting in. So I'm just placing on the edges a little bit of a garden-like You might find something in your backyard or maybe in the market, something colorful and green. And it can stand about 5-6 inches above the oasis that we put in. So it looks like a little nest and garden. Let's get to making our little dog now, the face. So there's that, and our dog is going to sit in the middle here. So let's get to that next step, the dog. Now here's a great way to put eyes on the flower. Just get a plastic eye, and we're going to put an eyelash. We're going to cut this one in half, and we'll glue it on top. And then we're going to glue in back of the eye the head of a pin. And it's so much easier to stabilize that when you put it into the flower. So I'm just going to cut this eyelash right in half. And then with the glue gun, I'm going to place just a little bit on top so that we have enough glue to place the eyelash. Then on the back, as I said, we're going to put a drop of glue gun on there, glue, and then we're going to add the head of the pin. This makes it so much easier. We let that dry for a little bit. We just put it aside. And then we'll do our other eye and put just a little bit of that glue on, and then we'll attach the eyelash. And again in the back, we'll put 1 drop of our glue, and then again we'll add the pin head to the back. We can go ahead and add our eyes. Just place your eye into the flower, and that'll be our little face of our little dog. Put a little nose, and then we'll put another red pom-pom, and we'll place it as the mouth. Now I want to get another chrysanthemum, and I just want to seat it right on top of his head there so that they're parallel, but it makes his head bigger. And then I'm going to add a carnation on the side and another carnation on the other side, and that'll be our ears. And then I'll tape it here. So I'll use a little piece of our floral tape and just wrap it around. And then another piece of floral tape to hold these ends together. So I'll use the plastic floral tape. You can use wire or a cord or rope. And there's our face. And so I don't forget, I'm going to add my little bow for our little dog right now. Just cut a little piece of fabric or ribbon and put it on top. Let's get to the next step. Now we want to begin to add our body here in the middle into the oasis. So we're going to add 3 chrysanthemums, 1 in the front, 1 in the middle, and 1 in the back. Kind of like an arc. And I'll show you. We'll put it right about here, not totally in the front, because we want our legs to hang here. So in the oasis, I'll put it about 1.5 inches from the front. And there it is. And now we'll put the middle, we'll put our middle flower right just below the middle level, middle line. We'll put the chrysanthemum so it touches the other one. And we'll put that in there. The head is going to go right in between there. We're going to stick our head in there. And so we're about 4 or 5 inches from the oasis. And because our head is going to come here, just below this basket, because it is a puppy dog. And now in the back, we're going to add our about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in the back here, again touching our middle chrysanthemum. And there it is. Now we're going to add our face right before the first one, in between the 2 chrysanthemums. So in the middle of these 2, our head is going to be placed inside. And there's our little puppy dog. And it's in between the 2. And now we add our legs. We just add 4 carnations, and again they're about 6 inches, and it will create the illusion of legs here. That's the first leg. And we'll add 4 legs. And in the back, on the side, we'll add just some reclining legs, as if he were reclining in this garden. And we add these 2 legs in the back and on the other side. And in the back, we want to add his last hind leg. And that's his last leg. And in the back, of the oasis, I'm going to put the tail on in the back there, angling up. And there's our little dog resting in the garden. Let's finish with flowers. Now we want to add some flowers to brighten it up. And we'll put 2 roses here on the side. And we'll add some colorful I hope you enjoy making this charming little puppy dog in the garden. Please enjoy. Following the steps we just went through, I know you can create this charming flower puppy dog in his garden. I hope you've enjoyed Learn Flower Arranging for Fun and Profit Volume 1. As you can see, step by step, you can create these beautiful flower arrangements for fun and profit. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you. And for more information and DVDs on creativity, please visit my website at askjimhowe.com. Keep well, take care, and keep creative.